So today we are going to be navigating all things applications and essay related. Like I said, Josh and I are both counselors here, so we can help answer questions about not only Elmhurst University, but what a traditional application looks like. So overall today, we are going to be going over applications, what certain application materials mean. We'll also be going over some terms like test required and test optional, as well as different deadlines and what different verbiage mean when you're applying to an application. And then, Josh, do you want to take over number 3?
Yeah, of course. So for the third one, so pretty much there are multiple application types. So sometimes universities and colleges have their own personal application. We do have one called through Slate. And then usually it's just on their website. It's usually you hop on, like, let's say you go to elmhurst.edu, it's on the right-hand side, upper right-hand side, apply. It's very, very easy to find. And then other universities also do something called a common application, also known as Coalition or Universal. So that is pretty much one central website where you apply to multiple schools. So Common App, I believe has over 400 universities and colleges on there, which is amazing. Sometimes you do have to pay for application fees per university or other ones. For example, at Elmhurst, it is free, so there's no charge whether you do it through Common App or through our Slate app. So we do have both versions of applications. Coalition just has shy of 150 schools, and it's mostly based on helping underrepresented students. And then Universal Application is the least seen. It is only with 14 universities, and most of them are the Ivy League. The great thing about doing multi-school applications is you'll be able to send it to multiple schools. So as soon as you upload your transcripts, you do your optional essay or non-optional, or you submit your test scores to the Common App, it'll be sent to all the universities you listed and they'll all receive it at the same time, which is great. Can you play the next video, Alyssa? Thanks.
Yeah, so now just because the most common one is the common application. So we're going to play a short video just explaining a little bit more about this. Let me know if you can hear it.
Oh, it looks like there's no audio, Alyssa.
So we all know that
Let's see.
5,500 is what an incoming freshman could see for.
Can you try resharing the screen again? Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're fine. I just want to make sure.
So
Thanks, guys. We'll fix that in a bit.
Let me know if you can hear this. Can you hear that?
No.
Okay. Well, we can just send you guys an email after, like a follow-up, and then we'll have this link in here. But you can also just YouTube what is the Common App, and it'll explain. But basically, it was like the overall of what Josh was saying. The most important thing to know about this is you can submit multiple applications once you put your main one in for different schools. So just now going into what the bulk of an application looks like, you'll start off with just going over your personal information. That's where we'll get to know a little bit more about the student, as well as family and just different backgrounds like that. Then we of course want to know about your school. So assuming everyone here would be coming in as a freshman, we would want to know about your school information. So if you went to multiple high schools or just one, we want to get all those transcripts in, knowing where you came from, your GPA, all that fun stuff. And then a lot of universities like to know your extracurricular involvement, just to know for future, what you might be interested, what different schools can offer when it comes to getting involved on campus. So it's always just good to know. If you have no extracurricular involvement, if you want to, you can start to look into something now if you still have an extra year or two in high school, but if not, it won't be held against you, just so you guys know. And then another important part is what your overall idea of what major or field of study you'd want to go into. If you do not know, it's totally okay. An undecided major is actually one of the most popular ones a lot of universities see, especially from incoming freshmen. So it's no, don't worry about it. If you have an idea, you can put something down. You can also change it throughout the school year. There's no pressure. And we'll of course get more in depth with that. And then letters of recommendation, we'll also talk more about, but that's basically something some applications require and others don't. That's something we can discuss more on a later slide. And then same with test scores and essays. So a big thing that a lot of schools are doing now is they're offering students to submit an essay rather than their test score. And that's something called test optional. So that's cool because if you don't score well on your ACT or SAT score, you can submit an essay and it will not be held against you. And then we'll also, of course, talk about payments and how that goes, and then just overall how to review and submit and finalize that application. So like I said before, the personal information is a big part of it because this is when we get to know who you are. One thing I would really recommend from all universities and colleges is we prefer you don't use your school email or your high school email, just because sometimes that gets a little wonky. You know, sometimes after you graduate, you might not have access to it again. So if you do have a personal email that you want to use for future stuff, I would definitely recommend giving us, or any application, your personal email. If you don't have one, you can always make one, of course. And then we want to just know where you're from. So like I said, your address, and then your family members and their highest level of education. The reason why that's important is because a lot of universities give scholarships for students who are the first in their family to go to college. So that's what Elmhurst considers a first generation college student. You will get additional aid and scholarships and help just because we know, that's a big step. We want to make sure you're being helped with along the way. And if your family has gone to college, that's great too. Nothing, of course, makes a difference, but it's just good to know where you're coming from and kind of what kind of support you might need. And then lastly, your social security number is something that will be asked on your application. And it's important you put it down because sometimes it can get lost. We want to make sure that we have the correct student. Everything on the application is going to be secured, so it's not going to be leaked or anything. So you don't have to worry about, being nervous to put in your social security number.
Alrighty, perfect. Thanks, Alyssa. So another important thing is you pretty much want to put the school that you attended. So, if you attended multiple high schools or just one, or if you did a dual degree, or not dual degree, dual credit program at your high school, you want to put in that info down. So typically it's going to be an address bar on the application, and it's going to ask you what school you went to. Sometimes your school does disclose the SEED code. It's pretty much just like an ID number. Every school in the United States is given a SEED code, but typically you could just type it in. So for example, I went to Lake Park High School in Roselle. So in the search bar, I can just type in Lake Park and it'll pop up. It'll usually say the town name under, or you could type in Roselle, Illinois. It'll give you the town name. I would just be careful if you do have a high school that's called North or West, just to make sure you're pointing at the right one. If your high school is not listed, there is an option to just click My High School is not listed, and then you can input information on that. And then if you went to a high school outside the United States, you would be considered an international student, but you would also just need to put My High School is not listed. One of the most important things that on your application is your transcript. So typically we do accept unofficial transcripts. So that's usually given on your student portal. For first year students, we do accept screenshots. For Elmhurst University, it's just one of our policies, but we do ask for your full legal name to be on there because you could screenshot someone else's grades and turn them in as your own. If not, the most easiest and official way without any issues is submitting your official transcript. So typically universities will be looking at your freshman to junior year transcripts. You might be asked to turn in your first semester senior year or your last semester senior, it just depends. But typically, I know for Elmhurst, we're looking at your first, second, and third year of high school. So pretty much we have websites like Naviance. I know that is one of the most popular ones nowadays, but I remember we would have to send it through Parchment. Sometimes there is a fee. So I would just recommend, saving a couple bucks here and there. I think it might be $10 to $15 to $20 to send per transcript to universities. If you're able to do unofficial, that is free because it just takes a screenshot. So yeah, that'll be next slide, please.
Only $2.
And then extracurricular involvement, you want to make sure you include as much information about yourself. We really want to get to know you as a student. A lot of applications, they're not just based on your GPA or your test or your exam or your grades. We want to look at you as a person, so very holistic. So, you can include your clubs and sports that you did. So, if you did track or field for a couple of years, football, baseball, anything like that. If you did any leadership opportunities, if you were in student government, class council, anything like that. If you did any volunteer hours, I know those are very popular with students who go to private schools because you do have to do them. Include them. If you do any volunteer hours affiliated with the university, your high school, a church, or anything, Habitat for Humanity, we love to see that. Like I mentioned, it's going to give us a deeper look of who you are, and you're going to want to think of this as a resume. You can also include your jobs, how long and what you did. We really want to get to know the nitty-gritty details about you.
Awesome. And then moving on, like I said, now to talk a little bit more about a field or major. So like I said, the most uncommon one is undecided. So please don't have any pressure. You will still get admitted to a university as long as your grades and GPA and everything looks good. Um, Typically, as a student, you don't have to decide what you want your major to be until your sophomore year, the end of sophomore year. So that's always nice. You have a full year and a half, maybe even 2 years to kind of figure it out. Take some courses you might be interested in, dabble in some things just so you can get an idea. But again, like even if you pick a major in your sophomore year and that you want it to change, you can change it. You're not tied down to anything. It might maybe affect, staying an extra semester or graduating a little bit later, but we want to make sure that you're getting the most out of your college experience. So don't feel pressure to ever have to change or, check in on what you're studying, as well as adding or dropping a minor. It's also common students can add a minor if you're interested in something, maybe not for a complete major. A lot of different schools also have some top programs. So if you like, for example, Elmhurst has a really great nursing program. We're ranked like top 10. So if you want interested in nursing, look for those schools that have strong nursing programs and kind of see how that takes you. A lot of schools also have pre-medical programs. So you can do a couple years at a university and then transfer over and go to grad school with the help of the university that you go to. So there are a lot of options, a lot of cool different programs. I can only speak on Elmhurst's experience, and we have over 70 majors that we offer. So I'm sure other universities have a great lot as well with different majors. So now moving on to letters of recommendation, as mentioned, not all schools required this, but if you want to get into an honors program or if you want to just show a little bit more of who you are as a student, getting those letters of rec does make a difference. It can maybe make you stand out if you might have wanted to show yourself off a little bit more in your application. We typically recommend that these letters of recommendations are from people who you work with in school. So that can be a teacher, a counselor, coach, typically a faculty member or a school, a teacher would be more efficient than having like your boss, let's say, at your job, just because we want to know about you from someone's perspective that's seen you in an educational setting. So that's something to keep in mind. It's not required from all schools. Like I said, like I know Elmhurst does not require it. Some schools might. So just keep that in mind. If you don't have those connections yet, I would start, if you have an extra year or two, try to build those relationships with your teachers, get them to know you, and then it'll be easier to get a letter of rec whenever you need it.
Alrighty, awesome. So we have test scores. So essentially most students in the United States will be taking one of either tests, either the ACT or the SAT. These official scores are sent from the College Board to the ACT. So if you haven't taken it or if you're retaking it, you can pretty much put Elmhurst down and we'll receive them on your behalf, which is amazing. For our application process, I know personally we do accept unofficial, so that could be self-report or screenshot uploads. Sometimes your high school transcript will actually have it on there, so that's really great. But typically afterwards, after taking the test, you can log on to your College Board account or your ACT, just enter some info in so they can make sure it's you, and you can pretty much send it to the universities that you want to. So you can send it to multiple universities. I believe the College Board does the first 5 universities you want to send it to is free, which is amazing. Afterwards, they are going to charge you a small fee. It ranges from $5 to $15, so that does matter. So we also accept AP and IB scores. So AP is advanced placement, and then IB is international baccalaureate. They're not required. No university has a requirement for AP or IB scores, but it really just shows how successful you are in these college level courses, and they can also help boost your GPA because most of them are weighted up to a 5.0 if it's a 4.0 system. So it can also let you get ahead. Typically, these are also sent at the time when the scores are released. So typically it's a little bit after you apply, maybe after you receive your admission decision, but you still want to get them in. So when you sign up for advising and pick out your first classes, you can be ahead or you can be on the right track. Thanks, Alyssa. Essays. So Elmhurst University, I know what we do. Do we talk about test optional? Yeah, so I'll talk about test optional. So Elmhurst University, I know a lot of schools sometimes require tests. Some of them require tests with the test score. So there's a variety of options. So for example, Elmhurst University, we're test optional. So that means instead of sending your ACT or SAT scores, you can send your test scores. These have the same weight at Elmer, so they won't affect you negatively if you do better on an essay than or an exam. The great thing about it is, these essays are typically very short, maybe a page, half a page. You want to make sure you're getting like complex sentence structure, paragraphs, no misspells, making sure it's great. Send it to your friend or your parent. They can read it over, which is amazing. A lot of schools sometimes they have a specific topic that you can talk about, so that's really cool. Or some schools just want to see your best writing work. Some schools want an autobiography so you can talk about yourself. So it's sometimes it's a little bit it's a mix between knowing the technical side of writing but also your writing abilities. So this all makes up the component of your application. You want to make sure you're answering the prompt at least. Sometimes people add too much fluff, talking about other things, but you want to make sure you're answering it. So I know some schools have some really interesting topics. I know UVA asks, what is your favorite word? So I think it's very clear cut, concise. Elmhurst, we have a free option so you can talk about essentially anything. But yeah, you want to be unique. You want to make sure it reflects you as a person, as a writer, but also as an applicant.
I'm not sure. Okay,
Thanks, Alyssa.
Thanks, Josh. Yeah. So now moving on to the payment process. So we really recommend that you guys start talking about how you plan to pay for college as soon as possible. Obviously, that sounds a little scary and intimidating, but it's good to have a plan. So when you get there, it's not as stressful. I would recommend, if you're paying, if your family's supporting you and helping you pay, or if you're doing it on your own, kind of get an idea of what that might look like. Start to look at those colleges or universities that you're interested in and see what their general costs might be. Just those little things to kind of prep you so it's not as intense once you're getting into it and starting your freshman year. You can pay through obviously your debit or credit card. Some schools are also a part of it. And also, when you're applying for your application, some schools, like I believe Josh mentioned earlier, some schools do have you pay to apply. Other schools do not. Like we said, Elmhurst is a free of charge application. You don't have to worry about paying a dime to apply for our schools. Other schools, they might require that payment. So just keep an eye out for that too, if that's something you want to look into. Some schools also, they'll offer a waiver if you aren't able to pay. So just keep that in mind and definitely stay connected with your high school counselors to see if you would qualify to get that waiver. And so now going off of that, we have a few different types of admissions that can occur. And I want you guys to be familiar with these words. That way you're not totally confused when it's time to apply. So first and foremost, early action is something that Elmhurst does and a lot of other universities do. And what that means is you are just essentially applying earlier in the game. And all that means is you applied and you'll get an answer earlier on if you got accepted or not. So for example, Elmhurst, you can apply as early as August and you have until November 1st to be considered an early action student. And then by December 1st, you'll get that letter of whether or not you got accepted. So that kind of helps make things a little bit clearer as the process continues down throughout your senior year. Other schools offer something called early decision. And so this is a binding commitment. So when you are applying early decision, that means if you were to get accepted, you are already a part of that school. You kind of can't get out of it. So keep that in mind. That means you would be immediately in school. So that's something if you're more certain about it. And then standard decision is just a basic, you apply when you apply, and by the springtime, you'll get an answer. So springtime of your senior year. And then rolling admission is when you can apply whenever and you'll get a response whenever. There's no, set dateline or there's no set end time. You can apply next week and get an answer the following week type of thing. So those are the few different options. Just again, keep in mind, I think the biggest one to keep an eye out for is that early decision one. You want to make sure you're ready for that part if you do want to go early decision.
Awesome. Thanks, Alyssa. So, you filed your application. Let's say you get it in before November 1st. Come December 1st, you got a whole stack of letters. So admit, pretty cut and clear. You got admitted. Congratulations. You have been offered a spot at the Elmhurst university, not just Elmhurst, but it's really great. Waitlist is, sometimes waitlisting happens when they admit too many students there. So it's not necessarily a no, it's not a hard no, but sometimes you can be on the wait list. And then if you wait a couple months, a spot may open up for you. It is not a guarantee, but if there's a spot open, you will be admitted. I would reach out to your counselor and talk about them with that. Reject/deny. So unfortunately, you were not accepted. So don't always think of a deny as a no. Think of it as a not now. So, let's say you were applying to a couple of colleges and universities and you got rejected and you're like, you know what? It's not now. Let me go to a community college. Let me take a couple years there, and then let me try applying again. If you try applying, you work hard, you get good grades, you can always get admitted once again. So that's a great thing. So it's always an extra opportunity. Defer. Defer happens for some universities. It usually happens with like dual degree or pre-professional programs. It is really popular in the graduate school side. So not you guys yet, definitely after you get your bachelor's degree. And defer would pretty much be like you were accepted, but you're going to have to wait a year. So it's essentially like a wait list, but your spot is guaranteed for the next semester or next year. This typically happens in law school and med schools. So yeah. Awesome. And then next, oh, great, perfect. Thanks, Alyssa. So deadlines ultimately depend on the university and college, but typically November 1st is early action for a lot of schools, which is super great. Sometimes there's early binding deadlines. You have to be considerate of that as well. And then our standard deadlines are usually around November 1st. Some schools have something called rolling admission, which means you can pretty much apply a couple weeks before the start of the school year. Elmhurst personally does rolling admission. I know other universities like Loyola does early admission, rolling admission. So that's something you can ask your counselor if you feel like you don't have the grades yet, or if you're still making a decision, or you pick one school and decide, you know what, I want to go to this. So some schools add a little bit more leeway. We do, for example. I think it's really great to really apply as early as possible, getting all your options, looking at your financial aid, and then making a decision in a timely manner. Definitely talk about it with your parents, your friends, your family, and your loved ones, and your friends too. See what works best for you. But yeah, thanks, Alyssa.
Yeah, and so that pretty much concludes the overall part of learning about other schools and how the overall general aspect goes with applying. But just to have a little bit more in depth with Elmhurst quickly, just in case anyone here is interested in Elmhurst. So like we said, that word early action is a big thing Elmhurst takes pride in. Every student who applies between August and November 1st will get an automatic $500 scholarship. And that will carry on throughout every single year. So we really recommend, even if you're just considering Elmhurst, maybe even as a slim possibility, we recommend, if it's even a possibility, to still apply before November 1st, so you can get that additional $500 off without doing anything too crazy. And again, the application is free to apply, so that's always also a good thing to know, and you'd be getting a free $500 every single year. If you apply before November 1st, like I said, by December 1st, you will get that letter in the mail. You will get that acceptance or deny letter. So the goal is acceptance, of course, but you would get the letter and you would know by December 1st. So by the end of this year, you will know if you were accepted to start the following year. And then like Josh just mentioned, we do have rolling admission. So even if you want to apply for school the week before school starts, you can totally do it. We're not pressing you in time. So you definitely have time. And the biggest takeaway from today is to just make sure you guys all know your options, really do your research, plan ahead of time, and also know that nothing needs to be decided right now. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. And then lastly, here is just Josh and I's contact information. So if you were interested and want to follow up after we talk today, we are going to still answer some questions. But before we answer questions, if you want to just write our name, email, phone number down, feel free to do so. And then you can always contact Josh and I about, Elmhurst or other questions college related as well. So I'll give this a minute so you guys can write it down if you're interested.
Also, feel free to just turn on your mic and camera and ask us. You can drop it in the chat, whatever works best for you guys.
Yes. I'm going to stop showing my screen just so I can see all the little boxes so I can see if anyone has any questions or anything.
Yeah, so Amar Ahmed asked, does Elmer's provide help does Elmhurst provide help working with athletes in their schedule? Yes. So Elmhurst is very much a student athlete school. We are D3, so sadly you don't get athletic scholarships, but we do have a dedicated athletic counselor who will be working with you from every step of the admission process to help you get admitted and talk about next steps, and also work with your coach and your potential future teammates. So that's super cool. Let me know if you want any more specifics, but it's really flexible. Admission offices are typically open Monday through Friday, so it does depend. Hourly, we can always schedule an appointment online with different universities. Omisha Skinner asked, if you take AP classes, will you be able to transfer the credits to college? Also, is there a limited amount of credits you can transfer? So this is truly college specific. Some colleges require a score of a 5 only, a 4, or a 3 and above. Some of them will only take X amount of AP credits or X amount of IB credits. I know personally at Elmhurst, we take as many AP credits that you have, so long as it scores a 3 and above. So make sure to get those AP credits in. And then let's see. Thank you guys for your help. We're always so happy. Can you send me the recording of this meeting? Of course, Rita. Let me just write your name down so we can send you it. It will also be on our YouTube page in a couple days. So if you guys just want to look up Elmhurst University Office of Admission, it'll be right there. And then Adriana Fatato asked, how does the application process work for high school students graduating with associate's degrees? So like I mentioned, you will pretty much apply as a traditional first-year student, depending on whether your associate degree program is accredited or not. I do know there are some that are not accredited. You may be able to come in as a transfer student with some credit under your belt, or with as a first year with a couple credits here and there. So it truly just depends. I would say send your transcripts from the college and send your transcripts from the high school as well. And then Michaela asked, how are the dorms? Are they co-ed and how spacious are they? Alyssa, do you want to take that question?
Yeah, so living on campus, we do have 6 different, for Elmhurst specifically, we have 6 different dorm rooms, and all but one is pretty much co-ed. So it is more communal. If you were interested in Elmhurst specifically, we do have on our website little tours of what each dorm room looks like, so you can get an idea. They're relatively good. I mean, they fit 2 to 4 people, depending on if you want a double, you know, you can have 3 people or a 4-person place. And as you kind of rank up in your school academic part and become a junior and senior, you have the options of living on houses or on apartments on campus. I'm also seeing someone asked, Adriana asked, when is it best to apply? Are you most likely to be accepted if you apply earlier rather than later? So for Elmhurst specifically, like we said, there's no set timeline. We want you in as much as you want to come in. So like, we're going to make sure every day we're just reviewing applications. So there's no pressure in that sense. Like we said, the main thing to applying early is that extra $500 you get off for free. So that's what I would recommend.
And then, is there an honors program? If so, do you have to apply separately or are you automatically considered? At Elmhurst University, you are automatically considered. If you do meet the requisites, you will be sent a letter inviting you to apply. You pretty much just jot down some info, write a quick essay, and then you'll receive a response if you are accepted or not. So it's pretty simple. If you don't receive a response, you can always apply once you're in the university. Amar Ahmed has asked, is there any information on psychology and counseling? So sadly, we don't have counseling programs. Counseling programs tend to be graduate degree programs, and typically students will major in psychology in their undergrad. So we do have psychology programs, and the program does feature stuff focused on counseling as well.
I see a little bit before I see we have a question asking, if you take AP classes, will they be able to transfer for college credit? Did you answer that one already, Josh?
Yeah, we did. It just depends on the
sure.
college specific. I know in Elmhurst we accept as many credits as possible so long as it's a 3 and above. Some take only a 4 and above, some only take 5. So I would just ask and just look through the school requisites.
Someone asked, Patricia asked, what is the average class size at Elmhurst? So I see it was already responded around 20, but yeah, so we do have a smaller campus. So that helps also because it's really just you, your other fellow peers, and only one teacher. There are no teaching assistants at Elmhurst University. So that also makes a difference. Kayla asks, what food places are around Elmhurst? Would you say it's a big city? So we are actually walking distance from our little downtown Elmhurst. I would say the Elmhurst community as a whole is really welcoming and everyone is very close together. A lot of students actually get jobs in the Elmhurst area or nannying for different families in Elmhurst. So that's a good spot to start off in. There are so many food places on and off campus. We have 2 Starbucks on campus, and we have a whole, building designated for the cafeteria and other little shops and stuff. But with downtown Elmhurst, it's so cute down there. There are so many different restaurants, a movie theater. There's, dessert shops, ice cream, donuts, cupcakes. There's so many things. And we also, Elmhurst students get student discounts. So if you show them your student ID, it's called a J-Pass here at Elmhurst, you'll be able to go to downtown Elmhurst and have fun down there and get some discounts. I see we have, what is the biggest program at Elmhurst? So we have a good amount of programs that are really popular and pretty big on campus. I would say our nursing, education, psychology, business, speech pathology, also add any, Josh, if I'm forgetting. Those are,
You hit him right on the head.
okay, cool. Those
Yep,
are
that
our-
is.
yeah. Okay, so those are like our pretty popular ones. That's typically what students come here for if they're, ready to go and have their major set. We also have a good program for students who are undecided, and we have them take a few courses that kind of help them find their path. So I would say those are our top ones, but I mean, we're also growing, especially in the communication aspects, digital media and everything as well.
Sweet. So Pearl asked, is there a transportation system on campus for students to get around? So yes, but here's one caveat. Campus is, very traditional college campus. We have our quad, we call it the mall. We have a bunch of different buildings, but campus is so walkable. It takes you around 10 minutes to get from one side to the other, all 4 directions, which is amazing. We do have something called the Blue Jay Shuttle that takes you to the local area around Elmhurst. So it picks you up on campus, either by the library or by Memorial Hall. And then it could take you to Oak Brook Mall, or it could take you to Target or Walmart, but campus is so walkable and easy. You don't have to worry about taking a bus. So you can pretty much wake up in your dorm, brush your teeth, and get to your class in 10 minutes or less. I've done it a bunch of times, so it's pretty cool. Michaela asked, what is tuition cost? So it does change every year, but we are around $51,000. I know it's a little bit scary, but we are a private school, so 100% of our admitted students do get scholarships. I recommend going on our scholarship page and seeing what they vary, but our base scholarships start from $10,000 up to $22,000 for first-year students. And then we have a bunch of different scholarships. If you're part of the UCC, if you're a first-generation student, like Alyssa mentioned, please make sure to put your parents' highest level of education and other things. We also recommend going out and looking at external scholarships as well. Rita asked, how competitive is the Elmhurst nursing program? So it is a bit on the competitive side, but the great thing is if you are admitted as a first year and so long you keep the prerequisites, you will have a spot waiting for you your junior and senior year. So it is a conditional admit so long you meet the prerequisites. So it's really great. Can we apply for these scholarships before we are admitted? So the great thing about Elmhurst is most of our scholarships are considered at admission. And because it's free, you have nothing to lose if you get admitted. So I would just, apply when you can, and you'll be able to get as many scholarships as you can. And then we have scholarship competitions later in the year.
Going off of that with the scholarships, so you apply and then we award you scholarships. You don't necessarily have to apply for the scholarships that we're talking about. So our scholarships are academic based at Elmhurst. So depending on your GPA throughout your 4 years in high school, as well as you can submit that essay or an SAT or ACT score. Depending on that is what we give your base range of what money we're giving you in scholarship sense. And then, like he said, we have a few for, first generation students. And we also have those things that will be sent to you in the mail, assuming you were to get accepted. So the main priority is to, if you're interested in Elmhurst, specifically is to apply for us first, and then we'll tell you how much you get off. And then from there, that's when you can go and apply for FAFSA and apply for those external scholarships as well. If you would like more clarification, please let me know.
Michaela asked, what is our acceptance rate? So apparently listed at US News, they do a lot of cool reports. We are hovering around 66%. Don't let that number scare you. Because it's a free application, you have nothing to lose. Definitely meet with a counselor. We can definitely let you know what we're looking for, how we can help you make your best application possible. And then let's see, when is the best time to apply for scholarships? Like Alyssa previously mentioned, automatically considered at your admission. How can we meet with a counselor? Yeah, of course. So I know for Elmhurst, I wish I could share my screen, but I can't. So pretty much you want to go on elmhurst.edu, which is amazing. You go on the website and on top right, there's a visit. It's in white text. You click it and it's going to take you to a page where you pick what type of student you are. So typically most of you guys are high schoolers. You click on high schoolers, and from there, there's going to be a whole bunch of appointments you can take. So Alyssa just dropped a link. Adriana asked, is tuition different for out-of-state students? Because we're a private university, no. And we actually award out-of-state scholarships for students as well at admission. So you get a couple thousand for being out of state, because we do know the moving cost is a little bit pricier. Patricia asked, what is a student schedule like? And how many days would you be on campus every week? Alyssa, do you want to tackle that question?
Yeah, so with the student schedule, what's nice about it is that you kind of get to take the wheel with that. So after your first semester, you are able to decide for the most part, what what times, what days you want to come to campus. As a freshman, in order to be considered all 4 years as a full-time student, you have to take at least 4 classes. And what's cool about that is they're not every single day. So you're not stressed out going to 4 classes back to back, Monday through Friday. Some classes only meet once a week, some meet twice a week, and some meet 3 times a week. But you will not be meeting more than 3 times a week for a certain class. With your schedule, so you never have to worry about just making a schedule up on your own. You always have the support of your advisors. So as a freshman, assuming you would be admitted and you commit to Elmhurst University, you will sign up for an advising and registration day. And when you do that, you'll come to campus and you'll meet with a professor who's in your potential field of study, or a professor who just helps and works with freshman students, and they will, and this goes for transfers as well. So you'll meet with a professor, and they'll go over and set up your schedule with you to make sure that it's also manageable for you. We also like to keep in mind, if you're living on campus or if you're commuting, we know those commuters sometimes like to have classes back to back rather than spread out. We also want to keep in mind, you can get jobs on campus. So maybe wanting to spread out a few hours to work in between classes. So all that thing gets played a part. But I would say typically students are on campus at least 4 days a week. I know when I was a student at Elmhurst, was able to only have classes Monday through Friday by the time I was a sophomore. So I kind of got flexible and was able to figure out what works best for me. But obviously you can kind of take it from there after your first semester.
Yeah, I personally liked having class every day. So I would split up 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So I would have only 2 classes a day. Some students like to do their 4 classes a day, 3, 1. It really depends on what you pick. Adriana said, do you guys offer social work classes? Yes, we offer a social work minor in the sociology program, in which you could pretty much major in psychology, sociology, and receive a minor in social work. Typically for a social work career, you do have to go to grad school. Amar asks, what type of jobs does Elmhurst offer on campus? So Elmhurst offers a variety of jobs. I worked a couple jobs on campus. Alyssa did too. We are alums, so we know the university pretty well. For example, I was a student ambassador, so that is essentially a tour guide. A lot of jobs are usually desk jobs, front desk, answering phones. And the great thing about it is they're so flexible because they understand that you're students. Typically, most of the time, you're just doing your homework. If anything ever happens, you can just talk to your supervisor and they're more than happy to help you out. One great thing is you get paid. You can pretty much choose to get your paycheck sent to your bank account, or it could be sent to your student account to pay for your tuition. Omisha asked, is it possible to have a major and a minor simultaneously? Yes. So a major is pretty much your principal study. You can even double major. Some students have even triple majored in the business program, and then you can minor. So you can have as many minors as possible. So I know for myself, I majored in business administration and minored in computer science. And Alyssa, if you want to share what you majored and minored in.
Yeah, I majored in communications, and then I minored in business administration. So we were able to kind of do what we wanted with that, which was nice. And just quickly going back to the on-campus job question, basically every building on campus offers jobs. So you can be an RA, which is a resident advisor, or a CA, which is a community advisor, and that gives you free tuition to live on campus. So that gives you a free housing throughout the years that you are an RA or a CA. You can also work at the gym, at the weight room, at the library, at the spirit shop, in the office of admissions, as a tutor. There are so many options. And once you were to be admitted to the university, typically the summer before you start, you can start applying for jobs. So I know I had a job before I even started college at Elmhurst, just because I was ahead of the game and I applied and got a job right away over the summertime. And then every student, because it's Elmhurst, you get $12 an hour to be a student worker on campus. And you can decide if you want to get that money, like he said, directly to you into your bank account, or that money can go directly to your tuition and it can help take off a couple $1,000s with your tuition. Thanks for the questions. These are great. Are there anything else you guys are thinking about? Do we miss any questions?
One question I do have is this is a simple question. Is it better to apply to say for example 3 colleges or 4, or is it better to apply to 10 or above?
I think a big part of that is based on what you're looking for, as well as what you think you can get accepted into. So if you think you have a chance of getting accepted to all 10 colleges, then why not see what they all offer? Josh, you can also tell me your thoughts on this, but I would say, if you think you can only really truly get into, I would say 3 to 5, let's say, maybe stick it to those to be more realistic. That way you're not stressing out with applying to all these schools. But I always say, just it's not worth it's the worst you can do is get told no. Chances are you'll still be able to figure it out. And even if you don't get accepted, go to community college. That doesn't have to stop you. A lot of schools like Elmhurst, for example, are very transfer friendly. So you can have a few years at another school and then come to Elmhurst and be back on track with no questions asked. So keep that in mind. Does that kind of help answer? Or Josh, do you want to add?
No, I think you hit it right on that. Like I said, you got it perfect. Another question was, so are we allowed to submit an essay instead of test scores? Yes. So that is test optional. It carries the same weight at Elmhurst. So if you have a really amazing essay, it would be the same thing as a really amazing test score. What are the demographics of the school? So Elmhurst, I think is really great with diversity. I would say come visit campus, especially during the school year, and you get to see all the students and all the clubs and organizations. We have a lot of cultural clubs. We have Black Student Union, Asian Club of Elmhurst, Latino Student Association, Polish Club. We have a lot of traditional undergrad students. So, people who come when they're 18, 19, 17, around that age. We have a lot of adult students. We have a very great blossoming graduate school and doctorate school. So it's a really great period. You meet a lot of different people at Elmhurst, which is amazing. Does okay, so another question was, does ACT and SAT score play a big role in applications? Are you more likely to be accepted if you take the tests? It truly depends up to the college. Elmhurst, we have no difference. So it's the same weight for us. Some schools might do test optional differently. I would just look into what their definition of test optional is. Is it easy to get involved in extracurriculars in Elmhurst? Yes, yes, yes. It is so easy. Alyssa and I were very much involved during our undergrad experience here. We were both in Greek life. Alyssa did. Oh, I'll let you talk for yourself, Alyssa, if you want to chat about it.
Yeah, so I was in Greek. I was in a sorority. I was an orientation student leader, so I helped welcome the new students in an orientation program. I had an internship. I had a job on campus. I was on the POMS team, so I kind of dabbled in all the areas of campus. Even if you have no interest or no maybe hobbies or talents right now, Elmhurst offers over 100 different clubs on campus. So you can totally find your space in any of those. We have honors programs, we have different clubs for your majors, we have different social aspects too. And with the question about, is there a math club or program? I believe, I know there's a stock market club. I believe there might be a few more, but even if there's not, what's really cool about Elmhurst as well is you are able to make your own club if you want to. So if you have yourself, a professor to back you up, and 2 other friends, you can make your own club on campus. So even if there isn't a club you see, then you guys are totally more than welcome to make your own once you come here and get comfortable. But with the whole getting involved aspect, don't worry, don't be too nervous. Elmhurst really sets you up for success. So that first week of school, you're in orientation. And in orientation, you guys are the only people on campus. No other students except for other new students. You get to know campus on your own. And going off of that, we have a whole get involved fair. So you get to learn all about the different clubs we have on campus. I don't think there's a makeup club, but that sounds really cool. And I actually would have wished there was. So I would say try to start that one up. That one will probably get a lot of attention. That's cool. And then, yeah, just to see the music question. Yeah, we have a huge music program. We have 3 choirs. Also, if you're interested in music, we have a talent scholarship for anyone who's interested in music or theater or in the fine arts department. We have a whole counselor set to just work with our music and fine arts students. So please, feel free to email Josh or I if you want more information on that. We do have great opportunities for anyone in that field.
Yeah, it's amazing. We also have clubs. We have an audio production minor. We have a a club of SoundCloud people who make their own music production, and they all support each other. So it's really cool. Do I have to be really good to join the dance team? I think Alyssa, you would be perfect for this.
Yeah. So on campus, we have 3 different dance teams as well as a cheer team. So there's a lot of opportunity there. We also have an amazing dance program. So even if you've never started before or danced before, you are able to take a class, and it can be for credit or for no credit. And you are able to just learn and be a part of the dance community. And it's really a great place to be. Obviously, biased, but I was a part of it all 4 years, and it really helped me make more friends, get more involved on campus with the dance teams. The only team out of the 3 dance teams that compete is the POMS team. So that one is typically a little bit more, we want some more experience if you want to join or try out for the POMS team, just because we do compete and we did hold some really high titles and championships and everything. So for the POMS team, I would say you should have some background in dance. If you don't have any yet, I would tell you now to learn how to do some turns, some jumps, the splits, and just know how to keep on tempo and everything. But our other 2 dance teams are student-led, and those ones are really fun to be a part of because it's more a collaborative experience. It's you guys can kind of make what you want with it. You guys get to choreograph your own dances together. So those ones are a lot more fun and easier to get on if you want to have just if you're doing dance for fun and not really to compete, if that makes sense. And with our cheer team, that's also a fun place to be. You guys would perform for the basketball and the football games. And that one also, of course, you have an experience in cheer is important just because there are stunts and flips and stuff. So we don't want anyone to get hurt. But overall, all of our dance teams have Instagram pages, and as well as our cheer team. So if you're interested, you can go and look up, Elmhurst University POMS team or Elmhurst University J-Light, stuff like that. So that's also all on our school Instagram page. So why not look into that? I can also put in, we have an Office of Student Involvement, and I can put in that Instagram, their Instagram handle. So you can look up, and from that Office of Student Involvement, you can see who they're following and who they tag and who's following them. And that's a lot of our clubs on campus if you want to learn more about it.
And then Adriana asked, do scholarships apply to the first year? Or do they carry over? Scholarships are supposed to carry over unless it explicitly says they're not supposed to carry over. So typically for a first year student, scholarships will take around the same time it takes you to graduate. So 4 years, though exceptions can be made if you need a 5th year or a 4th semester and a half. So that's a great thing. They automatically renew. You just have to accept or deny your financial aid every year right before the school year starts. Do sports teams house together or is it in general dorms? It usually depends, if you find someone you want to live with, we have a bunch of housing options from 2 students to 4 students. You can definitely find your sports team and see how the housing situation is for you guys. But yeah. And any more last questions before we wrap up? Sorry, Alyssa, go ahead.
No, I was going to ask that, so you're fine. I was making sure everything was getting answered.
Mhm.
And like I said, you got our information. Josh and I's email is in the chat, so please feel free to follow up with us.
Yeah. Amar asked, can you be part of the music community without majoring or minoring just for fun? 100% yes. So the great thing about performing arts, so our musical theater, plays, performing bands, choirs, you don't have to be majored in that. It's open for every student. We have a variety of students. For example, one of our transfers, for example, Alyssa did dance and she's not a dance major. One of our other counselors, George Martinez, majored in history and psychology, and he did theater here at Elmhurst.
And also going off the music program, you can also take music classes here at Elmhurst, and that can be, led by a fellow peer, a fellow music major, or a professor. You are also able to teach music classes if you really are skilled in that and want to end up being a teacher for the Elmhurst community. Sometimes kids come around and take a piano class, for example. So there's a lot of versatility with the music program. And yes. So thanks, Josh, for answering that one. Any last minute questions? I know we're going to wrap up a little bit right around 4 p.m. So any last minute questions, please put them in the chat or unmute yourself and ask. These have been great so far. Sorry, Josh, you were muted.
My bad, guys. So if any other question comes up, feel free to email us, give us a call our general line or anything like that. Okay. Amar asked, if a college student wants to transfer, but they have a low GPA, would they be able to? So once you have enough credits in your community college, we will be only looking at your community college. We won't really be looking at your high school transcripts. It just depends if you take a lot of classes at community college, a couple years or 2.
So yeah, thank you for that. So yeah, transfer students, really, we only look at your transcripts. So that's something to keep in mind too. Freshmen, we want to know the SAT, ACT, or your essay, and your GPA and everything. Yeah, a university, anything. We take transfer students from any school, which is nice. University, college.
Do all universities consider you more discards to the college if you apply? Oh, interested. It depends. Elmhurst, not really. Some schools have more limited spots. I would ask when you're applying, I would ask, but typically you might get some priority because sometimes spots do fill up in certain programs. How many credits would you need to transfer? That is a great question. I believe we are looking at, let me do some quick math.
Like I said,
We are looking at more than around 64 credit hours. So around 2 years. But the great thing about Elmhurst is you can apply even after 1 semester or 2 semesters or 2 years at community college. So how much community college you want to do is up to you if you're applying to Elmhurst. But if you do fall under a certain amount, we do look into your high school transcript. So just keep that in mind.
But yeah, you'll get a lot of training.
Of course, Jen, we're
Thank
always
you.
happy to
Thanks,
talk.
Jen.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Awesome. You guys have been such a fun group. Thank you so much for answering these amazing questions. Were awesome. We really appreciate your you guys wanting to know more. So that's a great sign. Feel free to email us, look us up online. We sadly don't have any fashion programs. We have marketing and design. Sometimes that kind of goes in with our fashion students.
Yeah. Alrighty, guys, have a great day. If you have any more additional questions, feel free to email us or give us a call. Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you. Have a good one.